This podcast is a member of the Voices of Wrestling Podcasting Network. Visit voicesofwrestling.com to hear the rest of our great podcasts, as well as show reviews, columns, opinions, and updates across the world of wrestling.
1, 2, 3, 4! It's KC time! World one, baby! Extreme.
You're listening to Music of the Mat on the Voices of Wrestling Podcast Network.
Hello, and welcome to Music of the Mat, the podcast devoted exclusively to the music of pro wrestling. It's all part of the Voices of Wrestling Podcast Network. I'm your host, Andrew Rich. This is episode 145, and it's Masters of Dragongate Volume 4, sponsored by HelloFresh. And today I am joined once again by a returning guest here on the show. He is one of the hosts of Open the Voice Gate on the VOW network. He's also the man behind Spearsovations. It's Mike Spears. Hello again, Mike.
Hey, Andrew. Thank you again for having me back on here. This is, I think, the fourth year we've done a Dragongate episode, and you've picked a really strong mix of theme songs to talk about today. But how are you doing today, bud?
I'm good. Yeah, thanks. Glad to be here with you again, as always, of course. Now, I know for you have a hurricane coming through your neck of the woods real soon. So,
yeah.
I hope you stay safe out there, my friend.
Yeah, just so people are wondering if something weird happens, I don't think it will. Hurricane Ian made landfall like an hour and a half ago, and I'm about to have it come through probably within the next 90 minutes. So, we'll see. But I am glad to ride this out with you, especially talking about Dragongate themes at this time with a interesting time, I think, for Dragongate theme music.
It is, yeah, and it's an interesting time to talk about Dragongate just in general, I think, because, we usually check in on the company at least once a year here on the show, and last time you were on, Mike, was in December, so that's been about 10 months or so since our last DG episode, and it's a good time to step back in, I think, because, oh boy, have there been some happenings in Dragongate since the last time you were on here, Mike. Because last time we were talking about how, it's so weird how Shun Skywalker sacrificed Dragon Diaz Max to protect the zone in that Apuestas match. What's going to become of that? Well, since then, we've had Shun go full-blown crazy heel, Masquerade broke up, RED turned into Z-Brats, Gold Class formed, Kota Minoura got his own mini, Kness retired, Super Shisa left, Gamma left and retired, Kaito Ishida left, Mochizuki revealed his secret son, Riki Ihashi retired, Nosaru Rangai showed up for a little bit, we have Naruki Doi going freelance. I mean, it's been just an absolute whirlwind, Mike, that's for sure.
Yeah, I have to say that somehow, only within, these 9 months, and it's something that I talk about this with Case a lot on Open the Voice Gate, is this is one of the more fascinating times to go through in Dragon System history. 2022 ended up being, as you said, the unmasking of Dragon Dia. That has, if one thing has been the overarching theme of this year, it has been the fallout from that match. And as you mentioned, Shun Skywalker, I don't know if you caught this earlier today, he is doing State of the Union addresses on Instagram Live right now. I would not believe that I would even bring that up this time last year. And that's not to mention the ongoing generation change has pretty much finished right now. The last few years, we've talked about people like Dragon Dia, like Yuki Yoshioka, and people like SB Kento and how they have been already ascending up the cards. But now we are at a time where, with the exception of the elder members of M3K, every champion in Dragongate is under the age of 30. I actually did the math, and 20 of the 46 roster members are under the age of 30. It has to be the first Zoomer-led promotion in Major Pro Wrestling to nowadays.
Mm-hmm. And you touched on this with Case on VoiceGate recently, but I think a lot of the shock and the weirdness is that it's all happened so quickly. Again, it's only been like 9 or 10 months, and so much has changed. And it's not like the change has been inherently bad, per se. I mean, like you said, the pushing of younger guys like D-Courage and Hyo, and seeing the growth of people like Ishin Ihashi and Mochizuki Jr., Benkei joining Gold Class, all that's been very fine and cool. But still, at the same time, when you have someone like a Naruki Doi, who is Dragongate through and through, he is one of the guys, capital T, capital G, of this company. When he goes freelance, it's still a mighty big change. I mean, even if Doi is not what he once was in the ring, still, it's a big pill to swallow, Mike, I think.
Yeah, and that's something that, we're recording 7 days after they announced that Naruki Doi, they're terming it exclusive freelancer. He'll be around for big shows and probably television tapings, but don't expect him to show up on YouTube anytime soon. And it lets him to go do certain things like work, wrestle, and GLEAT, I think is inevitable now. And it is a very big seismic shock. And it's something that I think, and Case and I talk about this a lot, optics is where it's felt the most, right? Because it's Naruki Doi. He is someone that when Dragongate was most present in people's minds, especially internationally, Naruki Doi was in the forefront there. I mean, he was a part of the Dragongate 6-man match at Ring of Honor, Supercard of Honor, March 31st, 2006. He was the Dreamgate champion when DG USA launched and felt like it was going to be the next big fresh thing. And it's something that if last year kind of really started when Masato Yoshino retired on August 1st, we have been dealing with the repercussions of that pretty much ever since. And the biggest one, I think, is now the fact that Naruki Doi is now freelance. And that's something that felt in retrospect, kind of inevitable, but it's still a huge revelatory thing because he was a part of the Big Six. And now we're in a position that Yamato and BB Hulk are the two remaining members of the Big Six who are contracted Dragongate wrestlers. It's something that, 3 years ago would be unfathomable.
Right. Well, that's life, I mean, that's life. Time moves on, and people get older, and they move on, and new guys come in to take their place. That's how it goes. So, yeah, it's not fun to see people we've grown up with and known for so long to retire or leave the company or whatever, but, it's going to happen regardless. One day we'll turn our heads, and Don Fuji will be gone, and Genki Hiraguchi will be gone, and Ryo Saito and BB Hulk and Yamato and all those guys, they'll just be gone, and new people will take their place. Except for Mochizuki. He'll be 90 and still kicking ass and looking the same. It's incredible, Mike, how much in great shape he still is.
It's something where he is the second eldest person on this roster by a good margin. He's 52 years old. His son, who is 20, is wrestling now, and 20 years from now, I could see him being a wrestling grandpa. He'll be 72 years old. I don't put anything past him at this point. He'll probably be the best 72-year-old wrestler ever at that point.
No doubt. Well, let's get to the themes here. Again, this is Masters of Dragongate Volume 4, another grab bag of various themes in the company right now, and we have 8 to get to here. We'll start off with the current Open the Dreamgate champion, Yuki Yoshioka, member of the D-Courage team with Dragon Dia and Madoka Kikuta, formerly Dia Inferno as well in RED. Yoshioka's theme is by Masakazu Murata, who also did Kitoka's theme, Live My Dreams. This is called Bump Out. is your standard heroic rock song with the big lead guitar and all that. It's a fine song, not the most exciting in the world, especially compared to a lot of other DG themes, which have a lot more of a theatrical flourish to them and tend to be all over the place. It does get a bit samey after a while, I think, but for someone who's supposed to be in the typical good-looking, good guy champion mold like Yoshioka is, it does fit that mic, I think, real well.
Yeah, it's something where it is the most Yuki Yoshioka thing possible in a lot of ways. He is kind of understated person who has emerged as the main character in Dragongate over the last year with D-Courage, the unmasking, and again, everything going back to Dragon Dia losing his mask because of Shun Skywalker. And it's fascinating that it is like a driving beat song. It is the one thing that kind of surprised me was that so in January he returns and is wrestling as his real name. He did not have a revision until he went for the Dreamgate. And I was kind of surprised they did not revise his theme, because it is kind of plain. But it's also Yuki Yoshioka, who's ended up being like this leading man figure and at the forefront of the current generation of Dragongate.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I compare it to something like a Kota Minoura and his theme, which is a similar style of, upbeat rock instrumental. It gets the job done, it just doesn't necessarily stand out. Whereas songs like Jamais Vu or Speedstar or Me Gusta Cola, those stand out because they have vocals or a stinger or, again, more of a flourish to them. So, again, I don't dislike this song, it's good. It just doesn't cross that threshold into being like an iconic, quote-unquote, DG theme, Mike,
Oh, no, not at all. And that's something that I used to describe Yuki Yoshioka as the next Susumu Yokosuka, now Susumu Mochizuki, and it makes sense because it's very understated. It's something that if you were pulling up Fire Pro World, you would see this theme song as the custom theme 34. It exists in that mold and it works, but it's something that it doesn't have the stingers that you really associate with Me Gusta Cola or Speedstar, absent of vocals, and it's something that I think Murata did with Live My Dreams. There were a lot of versions about it, but when you brought up that the same composer who did Bump Out did Live My Dreams, Kotoka's theme, it makes a lot of sense. There are some similarities there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, to me, the most notable thing about all of this is that Yoshioka spent all that time hiding his body in the Dia Inferno costume, because holy moly, that dude is good looking and he's jacked to the gills. Yuki Yoshioka, as you might call him. And it's let's put him in a big ugly mask and a full body costume to cover that whole thing up, Mike. It's crazy.
It's something that this guy, I COVID, of course, being horrible across everything, he had the least fun excursion ever, and it's hey, do you want to wrestle in this full body-length costume with layers? And oh yeah, you're gonna be masked, but it's not going to be a cloth mask that you could breathes easily. You're gonna be wearing a giant rubber Halloween mask, and you're gonna be wearing it until we're able to do this angle. Dia will get injured. In the meantime, you will still be wearing this. It's okay. Maybe he just was. It was a giant sweatsuit for him for that long, and that was all that was left.
Like a UFC fighter, just put on the big suit and go into the sauna and just
Bobby
sweating it all
Southworth.
out to make weight. Right.
and it's something that I remember when he went off to excursion, it was oh, he is someone that he has old generation movie star good looks. It is a phrase that has been described to him. That has described Yuki Yoshioka, and it's something that he was a very understated wrestler up until D-Courage. So him taking the reins, especially in the last few months since he's been Dreamgate champion, you kind of look at the end of the show and you're yeah, he is kind of an old movie star in a way, and it makes a lot of sense.
Right. Well, I'll say this too. It took me a while to figure out why they're called D-Courage, because D is for Dia, obviously, and courage in Japanese is Yuki. So, D-Courage. There you go. Also, D-Courage is when you bang a hooker without protection. Folks, that's D-Courage right there. I apologize for working blue there, Mike. I couldn't doubt myself there. I had to get it out. I'm sorry. But anyway, theme number 2, and it's for Diamante. No, not the women's wrestler in AEW. I'm talking about the male luchador and member of Z-Brats with a flowy dress shirt. That Diamante. Former Twin Gate champion with Shun Skywalker. And his theme is by John Underdown. This is Viva Victory.
The Mexican Power, El Original, Diamante! One shot, lock and load, under pressure, come alive, cause it's all I know. Break, point, won't look back, ring the bell, I'm going on the attack. All heart, undeterred, like a diamond, gonna shine me against the world. Head in the game, spirit aflame, taking the crown, it's what I came here to claim. Now I'm gonna rise, do whatever it takes. Crush anyone that tries to block the way to all the glory that...
You know, I can't remember who this song is for. The Mexican Power, El Original, Diamante! Oh, that's right. Thank you, John. I remember now. Thank you so much for that. Yeah, this song rules. This is one of my favorite current DG themes. It has that intensity, it has that aggressive demeanor befitting a Diamante, but at the same time, it has a very, triumphant, kind of heroic tone to it as well, especially in the chorus, with all that gusto in the vocals. So, you wouldn't normally expect a heel like Diamante to have that, but I guess considering, John Underdown's past DG themes, it's kind of his forte, Mike.
Yeah, John Underdown, the resident English singer on basically any Dragongate produced theme. He does the Tri-Vanguard theme, the most Sonic Adventure theme possible. And that one actually, I did some research into Mr. Underdown for the show today. And I'd like to present you my findings.
Oh, please do.
So John Underdown is a singer based in Japan, and he was a vocalist on the band Fade, which was a band that was around in Japan for about 20 years, and he met a bunch of people who were exchange students when they were in primary school. He was an exchange student from America, and they formed a band there in 2002, and after the band went on hiatus, he's kind of done a lot of singing. He's not like a full-blown big in Japan musician. It's not like how Marty Friedman is now like a pop culture figure in Japan. It's not like that. He is working one. And the thing that, as soon as I discovered this and how all my research from this comes from a Sonic fandom wikia, and that is because John Underdown did 2 songs for Sonic Forces. So no wonder he did the most Sonic Adventure theme song. He is someone who does songs for Sonic games.
My God, the John Underdown Sonic lore at play here, Mike. It's incredible. These findings are just outstanding, Mike. I can't believe it.
It's something that, Andrew, the way my brain works sometimes is if someone appears that much to me, I'm like, okay, what is their deal? Especially because he has appeared on so many Dragongate theme songs over the years. And I was like, okay, what is his deal? And as soon as I started looking at it, I was like, okay, a Sonic wiki. This is going to be interesting. I have to figure this out here. And lo and behold, they have a former Sonic video game vocalist doing themes for this, and did the Diamante thing, which, yeah, it's something that Diamante, it came into Dragongate as just someone that we figured was there to wrestle Ultimo, and then over the years, this theme came out for him in 2021, for the 2 years leading up to this thing, he became one of the most improved wrestlers on the planet, and it has such a swing at the chorus that you brought up there, and it's something that that we always start talking about. Diamante feels like he's going to be the next big foreigner star, and he's kind of ready to jump into that role, and it's the theme is almost face-like in a way that's oh, there could be a huge Diamante run here as a babyface, and I wonder if that's something that we're on the precipice of seeing happen.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, look at the lyrics. A lot of them are on kind of the more face side of things. All heart, undeterred, like a diamond gonna shine, it's me against the world. Now I'm gonna rise, do whatever it takes. Crush anyone that tries to block the way to all the glory that awaits. Eyes on the prize, live it every day. I'm gonna keep believing. Now I'm gonna shine, I know I'll never break, because there's only one philosophy, to find the champion in me. I swear I will not accept defeat. Viva victory. I mean, you do have like more aggressive lines in there, like spotlight, step in the ring, communicate with my fists and the pain I'll bring. It's your last chance to walk away. Facing me would be a fatal mistake. But on the whole, this is not your typical dastardly, mwahaha, evil kind of song, Mike.
And it's something that he got this later into his run that made you like think that, oh, he's getting this theme now, and it kind of like plants like the seeds of that like, oh, maybe this guy eventually, like with his like Shun Skywalker being who he is, could see down the line that Shun and him like end up turning on each other and having like a like mask feud, and maybe there is the idea of him as like a babyface, like unmasked star in Dragongate, and you can almost talk yourself into it, and this song definitely encourages that line of thinking.
Mm-hmm. I'll also note the various diamond puns in the song. I'm gonna shine, under pressure, never break, focused like a laser. You know, as a pun maker myself here, Mike, I do applaud John Underdown's work here, that's for sure.
Hey, just leave it to someone who is a sonic composer to give this to us. Like, I mean, you're doing songs for later Sonic games. I feel like that he would be able to make all kinds of diamond puns, and he certainly delivers here. Thank you yet again, Mr. Underdown.
Absolutely. But yeah, I agree with you. Diamante, he has grown by leaps and bounds since I first saw him a few years ago. Just a great wrestler in the ring right now, and I highly recommend people watch the Shunin Diamante versus Jason Lee and Jacky Funky Kamei match from Kobe World a few months ago. It's on the Gayora YouTube channel, and it's an incredible match, just so good. Probably making my top 10 of the year come year's end. Just amazing match, Mike. Just so good.
Yeah, it's a match that we were both, that Case and I were like in the lead up, we're like, oh, this match could be like the match of the weekend. This is something that like these four guys could really go out there and kill it, and they just took it to another level and had perhaps the best match in Kobe World history. And yeah, no, as you were saying, it's on YouTube. It's on the Gower YouTube. That the way sometimes how Dragongate stuff gets released for free is kind of convoluted. They have to go to the TV network to find this match, but yeah, it's out there for free, and it's definitely something that I think when we get to like year-end award stuff, it will probably be the big Dragongate kind of like the focus of the electorate behind the Twin Gate match from Kobe World.
Mm-hmm. Well, speaking of Jacky Funky Kamei, he's our next guy here. He's our next theme. The Natural Vibes member, JFK. Ask not what your country can do. Wait, that's a different JFK. Sorry about that. Jacky, of course, a former Twin Gate champion with Jason Lee, and part of that noted rookie class with SB Kento and Madoka Kikuta. His theme is by Ayaman Japan, and it's called Jacky Funky Baby. We've been waiting a long time for the Japanese wrestling equivalent to S-A-T-U-R-D-A-Y, night. S-A-T-U-R-D-A-Y, night. And we finally got it, damn it. We finally got it with this one. Yes, this is a delight of a theme song. The most saccharine, diabetes-inducing song of all time, maybe, with the pop music and the high-pitched female vocals, the sing-along, pow, 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 pow. Ayaman Japan is one of those pop idol groups, so that all makes sense there. But Jacky is also just a sweet young boy in overalls in a fun-loving stable. So something as cutesy as this is not out of line at all, Mike.
Yeah, so Ayaman Japan is a idol group that is kind of a meme idol group. and it kind of makes sense that they would make this infectious earworm of a song that is something that like really fits him in a way that is just like, oh, okay, this is very saccharine, as you were saying, and you're like, no, this kind of fits this guy who his roles kind of ended up being this kind of ball of energy, and it's very fitting for him to have a song as peppy as this one.
Definitely, and there aren't that many lyrics, but I do like how it references the Torbellino, which is the movie inherited from Yoshino after he retired. It also references the Jacky knife, which is his roll-up finisher. But for the most part, the song is basically just, Jacky Funky Baby, and the pow, 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 which, I don't know about you, Mike, but that got stuck in my head real quick after I heard this song.
Earworm, total earworm. It is like the most earworm song that they've released in a while, and if like for the while that he had the SB Kento feud last year that was happening mostly at Kobe Sambo Hall, and it was like right as the song got introduced, I had the song ringing in my ears for about a good week after watching those matches. Just because it's so infectious, and yeah, the pow 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 thing just kind of fits him in a way, and it also kind of in another way relates to his Kung Fu Master's character as well. So it's very fitting in a way that I would not think an idol group would really be able to incorporate stuff like the Torbellino and the Jacky knife into his theme song, and it was really kind of remarkable the way that they did it.
Mm-hmm. I think my favorite thing about this song is that it's called Jacky Funky Baby, but Jacky's original gimmick name was not Jacky Funky Kamei, it was Funky Jacky Kamei, FJK. So they did the song, but they got the order of the name wrong. And instead of just doing the song over, Jacky changed his name to fit the song instead of the other way around. So again, he's a real sweet boy, that Jacky. Very accommodating, Mike.
I actually like one dojo story I heard about him was that he is like the sweet cook of the dojo when he was like a dojo kid. It was like, oh yeah, no, you always look forward when Kamei was cooking. And it was just like, oh no, it makes sense they'd be like, no, you're an idol group that came in and did this theme song. I don't want to inconvenience anyone. Funky Jacky Kamei, like it makes more sense as JFK. Like you did the obvious joke, but leading into the song there, but it's a lot easier to remember because I found myself constantly taking notes, accidentally writing JFK before he changed his name. So actually, I appreciate the fact that he's so accommodating.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. Although it is a bit ironic that his initials are JFK and his catchphrase is pow pow pow, because the other JFK died because of pow pow pow. A little ironic there, I suppose, Mike,
Yeah, and it's something that growing up in Dallas-Fort Worth, I have a very close familiarity about that at a young age, and it's just the idea of like a very kiddie song in a way, invoking that. I'm like, nope, that makes sense in a way. They still have an X painted on the street where it happened. Like,
oh yeah.
It's very rare. Like, so I used to go to growing up games to Reunion Arena. Like, I would go watch Stars games, and that's where they play, and it's right past Dealey Plaza. So it'd be like, yeah, I'm gonna go watch sports. It's gonna be very exciting. I'm like 8 or 9, and it's like, oh wait, a president was shot there. Very abrupt.
I'd say so. Yeah, I'd say so. Theme number 4, and we're going to play something a little bit different than Jacky's theme here, because it's for Mandai Ryu. Yes, the problem dragon himself. I'm more of a Tuesday Ryu fan myself. Folks, I'm on a roll here. Let's go. Anyway, Mandai's theme is by Hitoki, and it's called Naughty Guy. For one of the lowest guys on the totem pole, This one goes pretty damn hard. I mean, that opening bass line just hits you like a Mack truck. And the rest of the song is pretty heavy, too. I mean, with the big thrashy guitars, the pounding drums, the screaming, "Guy! Naughty guy!" It's an absolute onslaught from beginning to end. Just a complete 180 from Jacky Funky Baby. You know, is Mondai Ryu the unrelenting killer that this song conveys? Not really. But it's still a banger, Mike, no doubt about it.
And it's such like a change for what his theme was before that. Like, because you're right, it is a very driving theme. His original theme was "We Are Team Veteran" booing, and they leaked it.
Yes, Salty a Boo Boo. That's right, yeah.
Yeah. So it's like, oh, you went from that, like, very much on the nose thing to, like, this one that's just, like, the bass line is so driving in it. And you're just like, oh. And then you realize you're watching match one, and it's Mondai Ryu. And you're like, oh, okay. There we go.
It says a lot about the depth of a company's theme songs that you can go this deep in the roster to Problem Dragon, and even he is a kick-ass theme. Because, yeah, he's been a lower mid-carder for pretty much his entire career. Never won any titles or tournaments at all, but it doesn't matter. He still has a sick theme. So it's nice to see that equality amongst the various tiers of the roster, Mike. It's pretty cool.
It's something that when I hear his name, it's like, okay, I know it's him, and I'm all right with it. There's someone later down this list who has a theme that whenever I hear it, I start groaning. So, you know, when we're talking about the lower card stuff, I'm glad that he has, like, a much more fierce... It's very fierce. I think it's a very funny fact that he has such a fierce theme, and it's just Mondai Ryu coming out. And it's like, oh yeah, here he is. He is teaming with Genki Horiguchi and Ultimo Dragon.
And if I'm not mistaken, he's had this since 2018, I believe, and as far as I know, he really hasn't done anything naughty in recent years. Like, beforehand, he was in the big heel units, you know, Mad Blanking, Berserk, and throwing salt out of a bucket. That all lines up, but recently he's just been, like, yeah, a hand on the roster, filling out tag matches and battle royals. So it's a bit strange how you have this crazy song called Naughty Guy, and the guy has not been naughty, Mike. It's very weird.
Yeah, no, it's something that, so yeah, he was kind of the heel of Lost Post, kind of the gimmick guy for, like, Mad Blanky and Berserk, two so, like, kind of preeminent heel groups, and now he lost, like, Berserk lost that match against Overgeneration, and then he just, now is just kind of just, I'm Mondai Ryu, that's who I am, he's just not bothering changing it, and it was interesting, after he got turned, he was like, you know what, I'm going to take this because I have a nephew, and I'm going to be a good uncle. So he's not going to be a rowdy uncle like Don Fuji. So I think this is what Mondai, which means problem. I think this is the amount of probleming he's trying to do right now to be a good uncle.
Definitely. Regardless, I still prefer Naughty Guy over Salty a Boo Boo all the way. Because, you know, Salty a Boo Boo, that does get old pretty quickly, I think. So, yeah, I always give the nod to Naughty Guy every time here, Mike.
No, yeah, and it's something that, like, for a while, there was, like, Mondai Ryu fans, like, right when he turned in some of this, and the fact that, like, Salty a Boo Boo maybe lasted a little long because they realized, oh, yeah, he was, like, weirdly over in, like, the summer of 2014, so they let it go on, like, 4 years too long, right? I think you're absolutely right, like, going to Naughty Guy, like, I'd be interested to see what more Hitoki themes would be like for Dragongate, like, I like this one, and maybe it's something for someone like Ishinahashi, when he's, like, moving on from, like, a theme that's referencing his brother that retired. I think we should bring in Hitoki for him.
There'd be a good chance of a killer bass line. That'd be pretty cool, I think, yeah.
It just kind of makes sense to me. Sorry, I was just going to say, it just kind of makes sense for me. Like, he's being a little rough around the edges now of M3K. You know, give him the bass line.
Well, Mike, we just talked about Problem Dragon there, but I'll tell you what's not a problem, and that's HelloFresh. Because with HelloFresh, you get farm-fresh, pre-portioned ingredients and seasonal recipes delivered right to your doorstep. Skip trips to the grocery store and count on HelloFresh to make home cooking easy, fun, and affordable. That's why it's America's #1 meal kit. Subscribe to HelloFresh and you can check Save Money off your fall to-do list. Because HelloFresh is 25% cheaper than takeout and less expensive than grocery shopping too, so it's very money smart. And of course, there's the variety with HelloFresh. It has many different options for meals, family-friendly, fit and wholesome, veggie. Well, HelloFresh is now offering vegan recipes on the menu every week, made without animal products of any kind, like dairy, meat, eggs, or honey. So if you're vegan, enjoy meals like sweet chili tofu bowls or spicy coconut curry stir fry. Yum. And you know me, Mike, I am no wizard in the kitchen. I need help in that department. But with HelloFresh, they come through in the clutch. I have all the ingredients right there. The recipes are simple to follow, and the prep work and cleanup time is low. So if you're like me, you want to make some nice meals all by yourself at a great cost, then just go to HelloFresh.com/VOW65. Use the code VOW65 for 65% off plus free shipping. Once again, that's HelloFresh.com/VOW65. Use the code VOW65 for 65% off plus free shipping. HelloFresh, America's #1 meal kit. Okay, up next, we're going to talk about another Natural Vibes member, Strong Machine J, the son of Pearl legend Super Strong Machine, or I guess the newer model in Machine speak. J's theme is by Yoshio Fukurai, and it's called Hurricanes Bam 2019 DG Mix. So any astute wrestling nerd will tell you that this song is a remix of the Super Strong Machine theme, Hurricanes Bam, or Hurricanes Bum, as some translations put it. I think the actual title is Hurricanes Bomb, but Hurricanes Bum is a lot funnier. And yeah, this is what it sounds like, a modern remix of that song. You know, very dancey, very techno-fied, and I think the original version was more like an early Depeche Mode song with like a hammer and anvil sound effect, but yeah, this is basically the same song, it's just given a modern Dragongate coat of paint, Mike.
Yeah, it's something that, especially when he debuted and was with Strong Machine Army, they really invoked all the ways you can invoke his father. So, like, they had the Strong Machine Army. He comes out to a remix with his dad's theme. They get Shogun KY Wakamatsu out of wherever he was to come out for a couple of shows. But it has this refresh there that, yeah, it's very updated. It has a techno sheen and it's kind of dancing. And it's something that I don't know if at the time they were kind of planning him hit out his next like 3 or 4 years. That'd be like, oh yeah, no, eventually he's going to join Natural Vibes. But in like retrospect, especially like listening to, you're like, okay, no, this still works with the ways he's recently evolved, and I find that really kind of remarkable.
Right, yeah. I mean, like you said, it made total sense for him to have this song because everything else about him has been modeled after his dad. You know, Strong Machine name, the mask, the gear, the finishing move, all of that stuff. And also, really keeping with the whole machine motif, having it be this like very techno dancey song is kind of on point too, because that is music that feels electronic and machine-like in a way, and not necessarily, you know, humanistic or natural, if that makes sense. You know, compared to like, I don't know, an acoustic guitar or a piano or whatever. So it works on that level, but it also just works in the style of many other, you know, DG themes, I think, Mike.
Yeah, and it's something that, you know, if you're going to have something machine-like and update it, I guess, to like another, like, way into the future, like you've already done his dad to having the hammer and anvil, what's kind of the next thing you do? Oh, just make it sound techno-like. It kind of is that, like, second-generation feel that's this roster has ended up being a lot of this year in a way with him, Ishinahashi, and Mochizuki Jr. But yeah, it's something that they found a way, and it's something that I would say Fukurai did really well to kind of enmesh it with the rest of the roster in the way you were saying, because it does kind of fit in there that like he might come out to Natural Vibes theme and they will and they'll have like a 6-man tag, and he gets the fall, and you hear this, and it's like, oh yeah, no, this makes sense for Natural Vibes members theme, and it's very fortunate in that way.
Mm-hmm. And it has a good beat too, which is good for breakdancing, because holy crap, when he joined Natural Vibes and revealed that he could breakdance and breakdance well, it was crazy, because beforehand, yeah, he was just following his dad's footsteps as a machine, which is not the most exciting gimmick in the world, mind you, but then he started dancing, and it just caught everybody off guard, Mike.
It was something that I think that with like his injuries, and he went in for repairs, they had like retrofit a completely new shoulder socket for him eventually. Like he was out for a lot. They couldn't get him to a place where they felt like they can move on from his dad's gimmick. So when he comes out of nowhere and becomes like this stunningly good breakdancer, and it comes out, it's like, oh yeah, no, he was in breakdance competitions as a teenager, and it's like, oh, Dragongate, yet again, you were just like surprising us again, like first, and this like happened like either right before or right after Mochizuki Jr. was released, so it was just like, you're playing fast ones on us. You just told us like one of your enduring stars has a secret son, and now this guy just out of nowhere is a incredible breakdancer. What are you doing this year, Dragongate?
Sneaky, yes. Admittedly, I have not seen much of Super Strong Machine in his career, but I don't think he ever busted out any sweet dance moves in his day. I don't think so. So to see Jay do it is pretty cool, especially with the injuries, right? I mean, he's had some shoulder injuries over the years, so to see him do all these, head spins and twirls and whatnot, it's pretty impressive, Mike.
I'm excited to see him incorporate more breakdancing into his wrestling. I think it's like he does do like that little spin elbow drop, but like this is a guy who bounces himself on his head. Like, let's incorporate that into his moveset somehow. I think there's some mileage there. And yeah, no, like when you talk about his dad, I then instantly think about, oh, his dad dancing. That's one thing. And it's like, oh, what about like the times that Andre the Giant as a strong machine under a mask, and he would have to do the Natural Vibes dance? Like, those are the things that those are the things that put a smile on my face on a tough day.
Listen, if Zoolander can have breakdance fighting, then Dragongate can have breakdance wrestling. It can happen one of these days, Mike, I'm sure. One of these days.
Dragon Kid breakdances too. You have a natural matchup
hey, yeah. There you go.
Yeah.
There you go. That's a Kobe World headliner for next year. Absolutely.
If they do 2 nights again, I think that might do better than an Ultimo led one.
Yeah. Couldn't be worse, I don't think. So,
no, I don't think it could be worse.
Theme number 6, and it's for Madoka Kikuta, one half of the Twin Gate champs with Dragon Dia. Of course, the former hip-hop Kikuta in RED. And his theme is by Goryu from the band Dope Down. It's called Sparking Core.
It's showtime, get back, Hibana, what you lost, that's bomb plus, you walk, you can't collapse my soul! Wake me up, KO はボートの受賞酩酊してブレイク全般シグナル静かにハイシュルビルウォープすぎるはのない限界突破はのブレギリの再建する練習は先見のメイトキャスカットキルでバスキルスキルウォーキャスリーダー明けつけな衝動身を任せて焼き付きほどになる炎かき回してくままEverybody shouting around now Moyas in my sparking in the core Come on, keep on rising So, please do what tomorrow
So if I'm not mistaken, Kikuta debuted an early version of this song for his Dreamgate match last year, where he got injured like 2 minutes in, and it put him on the shelf for like a full year. And at the time, he was firmly a heel in RED. So the aggressive, in-your-face kind of music here does make sense then. When he came back, though, he did so as a babyface on his own, and now he's part of D-Courage, which is like the white meat cute babyface group to a T. And he still has the song with the shouty vocals and the punchy music and all that. So it's made for an interesting dichotomy there, where you have this clash between D-Courage and that whole vibe, and the vibe of this song, which leans a little bit more towards the RED side of things, Mike, I think.
Yeah, so at at Dead or Alive last year, his first ever main event. He is the youngest ever Dreamgate challenger and main eventer in like big show history, still to this day. He comes out to just the demo track version of this. Dragongate does this a couple times when like they're working on a theme and they want to have something. They'll put out someone with a demo track version of it. So he comes out there. They tie up and they literally start doing the feeling out process. And Shun Skywalker does a drop toe hold, just a innocuous move. Little did anyone know, or at least anyone outside Dragongate know, that Madoka Kikuta already had like a trick arm. And then he goes away for a year and he comes back with like this vicious theme lyrics to it. And it's something that like the theme is kind of vicious in the way you're saying, and it's something that you look at this theme music and you're like, especially the lyrics, like spilling your mediocre ideals into your devastated brain. Like, I expect that to be in like Shun Skywalker's current theme, or Kai. I don't expect that to be the backup for D-Courage, which is Yuki Yoshioka, which we talked about before, is like movie star, old school movie star good looks. And you have like Dragongate, who's like a cutesy kind of guy there too. And you have like big old Madoka Kikuta behind them with like scoring wins and winning the Twingate Championship, talking about baring his fangs. It's very it's something that, like I like Madoka Kikuta with these guys, but this theme was not designed for that in that way.
Yeah, like you said, the lyrics do match up with the intensity of the music. It's showtime, sparks fly, dust, bomb blast, blood boils at the core of my soul. Wake me up alarm is the beginning of a riot. Bad signals because I'm getting high. I should be the one who's taking you out. Everybody shout it out loud now. Burn my sparking inner core. Now bare your fangs, rising soul, blur your scars. Raise you up if you don't have balls. Like, yeah, this is music for a young guy who's primed to just grab wrestling by the throat and rise up and take on all comers. So, yeah, does it gel with the whole vibe of D-Courage? Not really, no, but it suits him in like a vacuum, I suppose, Mike.
Yeah, it does feel like a return theme song, like how we were talking about how we thought that maybe Yuki Yoshioka would get an updated theme song, getting that big babyface push. Like, this is the kind of stuff you would kind of expect in a way, like something like this, because you're absolutely right. This is definitely like someone who, has an early setback and is trying to rise up. Like, the lyrics can definitely be read that way as well, and that very much has been like the case for Kikuta up until Dangerous Gate, when he won the Twin Gate titles. He was trying to reestablish himself, and it's something that really does like fit him in a way, because he is still 23 years old. Like that's the thing that about Dragongate in 2022, about like this edition of Masters of Dragongate, I feel like to really impress is like we are now like facing like the post Naruki Doi era and like the post Big Six era in a way that like, yeah, no, it makes total sense that this guy now is Twin Gate champion. He's 23 years old. It makes perfect sense, because that's what this year has been all about in a way.
Right, and I did notice as well what seems like a few references to him breaking away from RED. Breaking point immediately, I click into the fire zone and cut off my evil spirits. Burning soul, let out a roar that feeds on change. So it does, I think, at least touch on Kikuta putting that chapter of his career behind him and changing from hip-hop Kikuta in RED to Madoka Kikuta going his own way and giving it a fresh start there. And I think the fact that he took a year off due to injury as well kind of helped along with that, Mike.
Oh, absolutely so. It's something that does feel like breaking away from his past. And like the last time you saw him, he was injured and they had to stop a Dreamgate match at a Big 5 show. And now he's returned to his own name. It's something where he's wrestling as himself. He's not like, oh, the next class of 2020 turncoat joining RED. He is now Madoka Kikuta. A question I had for you now that like we're talking about, like, are these heel lyrics, are these like return lyrics? We know this song, at least the instrumentals were ready when he was still hip hop Kikuta. Do you think that these lyrics and like this like update was prepared, like, oh, it was something that they already had done before he was hurt, and it was like, all right, this is what we have, it's already done, let's go? Or do you think it's something that they wrote fresh for him, like thinking that this is like a return song?
Given how long he was out, it's probably a big clue, I think, because if the injury was like, I don't know, a month or so, and he came back and he was still in RED and still hip hop Kikuta, I think they would have just gone with their plans regardless. But I mean, he was out for a full year. That's a long time in wrestling. And he came back and he was not in RED anymore. He was Madoka Kikuta, his own guy now. So I think that kind of forced them to kind of shift gears a little bit and make the song more of a return theme and more of a, quote unquote solo theme, I guess. So I'm leaning more towards the return theme side of things there, more so than the heel side, Mike.
Yeah, and it's something with, like, as you're saying, he's like, it's something that they're still not explicitly clear that Kikuta is Decourage at this point. Like for all intents and purposes, he's Decourage. I mean, when you win a championship with someone who's a part of that group and like how he's been backing up there, he's Decourage. So it's something like that now. Like I'm thinking it's like, oh, we had this theme, at least the instrumental is already prepared and it was already like this heel driving thing, but oh, now he's coming back now. Let's now, the lyrics we had before or what we were planning on doing, let's throw that out. Let's see what we can adapt this to for its return. Like now that we've discussed that, I think that's pretty. I see that being the case now. Yeah, for sure.
Mm-hmm. I'll tell you what's not debatable though, that booty, because oh baby, does that man have some wide hips and some junk in the trunk, Mike? My goodness.
It's something where for the longest time I didn't think the pile driver worked for him. He came back and he started doing this like snap stuff pile driver, but he is someone who has a very developed butt. I'm trying not to be crass here. He does have junk in the trunk, and it was something that like hip hop Kikuta was about him doing like hip attacks. Like he was based so much around that now. So it's like, oh no, now his butt is too big for this pile driver to look good. But then him and Jason Lee, like this match is also on YouTube. They've been putting Twingate matches on YouTube a lot lately. But at Dangerous Gate, when they won those belts from Jacky Funky Kamei and Jason Lee, like the pile driver that Jason Lee took was just devastating. So I'm thinking I am over the butt. That's what this is meant to me.
Perhaps. I'm just waiting for the one time on commentary where Jay goes, he calls that the rear view, ho-ho. Just one time, Jay, please. Just one time, I'm begging you, man. Come on, just do it once.
I wouldn't put it past there. I mean, he has made Akewood references on commentary before. So
he gets a little pew-pew on the commentary team at times, absolutely. So, look, if anyone can do it, I'm sure it's him. I have no doubt about that. So, But anyway, our second to last theme here, and it's for the one and only Punch Tominaga, one of the more maligned wrestlers on the roster over the years for various reasons, but he's still around, still doing his thing, and his theme is by Yatsuka Nakazawa. This is the curiously named song Hot Ocean. So I always get a kick out of this one. Not that it's an amazing song, it's a pretty decent instrumental, but it starts off with that flurry of keyboard arpeggios, and it is synths out the wazoo. It sounds like a very, brightly colored song. Hot Ocean, maybe you think of the tropics perhaps. And then out walks Punch Tominaga. And I mean no disrespect to the guy, but he doesn't really look like a guy who would have a song like this. Maybe in the Natural Vibes days, when he had the Jamaican colors, maybe, but otherwise, yeah, he's a bit too grimy for something like this, Mike, in my opinion, at least.
Well, I could say one thing that's less grimy about him now. It took him a while. Punch Tominaga has shaved his head, so no more gross head. No more gross hair. Like, he's someone who, as a guy who has a thinning hairline, I appreciate someone who's holding out for it. He gave in to Father Time. And for that, he is a little bit more squeaky clean. But yeah, no, this is such like a driving like babyface theme. Like, this is the theme music because like he teamed with them for so long and just doing undercard stuff and then Team Boku. that I identify and I get Dragonfly mixed up with Hot Ocean. Dragonfly being the theme of Ryo Saito now. So because it is that kind of level of babyface theme, and then it's Punch Tominaga coming out. He is a former Bravegate champion. I should offer him some respect, but I refuse to. But he is multiple time 4-star match haver Punch Tominaga, as Case and I have explored at length on VoiceGate.
Well, good for him. Good for him. But yeah, he's had this song for a long time too, like years and years through various face turns and heel turns and stables and whatnot. So it's like, yeah, this is the Punch theme. We accept that. But at the same time, it's like, this is the Punch theme? But again, we kind of accept this. It's like, with all things in wrestling, like, name changes or gimmick changes or whatnot, after a while, we just get used to it. So yeah, it's a bit strange given Punch's whole, aura and punchiness, but we just have grown to go along with it, Mike, I guess.
Yeah, so I actually, like, knowing that this is, like, it's been around for so long, and Punch Tominaga has cursed my life for this long, that, like, I just accept this as Punch's theme. But, like, 2013, and then I looked at this, at the nice notes you always provide for this, for doing Music of the Mat, Yasuka Nakazawa is Dragongate Records president, like, the person who does, like, all the music stuff, all the sound coordination here. I feel like one night he was like, oh, we have to have a theme for Punch Tominaga. Well, I fooled around, made this, and this is what it is. And we just aren't going to change it. We're not offering any updates. We're giving this to Punch. And I've now fully believe that because we're coming up on the 10-year anniversary of Hot Ocean. So it's been called Hot Ocean for a long time. I don't know why it's called Hot Ocean. His nickname is Hot Ocean. I don't know why he is Hot Ocean, but you just kind of grow to accept things, Punch Tominaga. I guess that's what I've come to terms with.
Maybe he's trying to bring awareness to global warming. Hot ocean, not an ideal thing for our environment. So he's trying to do his part, Mike. Maybe that's it.
Like, that would be like an affectation for him, like a character thing, that he is like climate change awareness guy for Dragongate. Like that could have been the thing that kept him in Natural Vibes. Like, they already had like that, like a certain bent, and you're like, oh yeah, no, like you also have the guy who cares about environmental causes who hangs out with him. Yeah, no, that's Punch Tominaga. He stays.
Right. I do wonder, though, will he change his name? Because the reason he's called Punch Tominaga is because he had the punch perm hairstyle. But like you said, Mike, he shaved his head recently, so he's bald now. So what, will he be Bald Tominaga? The questions abound, Mike.
Yeah, and like the problem is that you can't call him Bald Tominaga because bald in Japanese is Hage, and that's Genki's
That's
thing.
Genki's thing, that's right, yeah.
Yeah. So like at the end of the day, it's just like, are we like thinking about his name the same way that they think about his theme music? That it's just like, we decided this was his theme music. This will be his theme music. We decided he was Punch Tominaga. He's bald now, but it's better than being known as the guy who was in the dojo for 4 years. I'll say that. So I think you go with Hot Ocean because you might go back to being the guy who, was training when Yamato just debuted and finally debuted like 6 years later. So
all these big changes in Dragongate here, Mike. This is the biggest one of all, I think. It's a scary time in the company for sure.
I hope nothing ever happens to Punch Tominaga. I will say that. Like he's a doofus, but he's our doofus.
Exactly.
Like every company needs to have their guy that you're just like, oh, I'm tired about the tea kettle guy in All Japan, or like the Musha Kings. Like you're like, yeah, no, that was Noah's thing. Dragongate has Punch Tominaga. He's ours. Like, don't go anywhere. We need to have someone just completely eat it in match ones for no good reason.
Yeah, we can laugh at La Estrella obliterating Punch's ribs with a 450 splash, but you can't, goddammit. He's ours, all right? Back off.
It's really the only way that I think we could accept Punch Tominaga in 2022. Like, he's just the lovable loser, and, even though his dad owns the dance studio that they learned the Natural Vibes dance at, and they brought this up, like his dad advertises the studio and the programs. Even because of that, this is not Dragongate decided to push back against nepotism. It did not allow him to remain a member of Natural Vibes.
Well, speaking of Natural Vibes, we have our final theme here, and it's for the leader of the group, KZ. So yes, it's KZ time, but we're not playing the normal KZ theme, Time to Go Crazy. We're going to play the special big match theme that KZ has used a couple times, exclusively for Dreamgate matches. I think he debuted it in 2020 against Eita, and then against Shun last year at Kobe World, so it's a rare theme. This is by Natural Weapon and Tak Z. It's called After the Festival, KZ Dub.
Evening man, big up KZ. This one dedicated special dub plate. Taxi alongside natural weapon.
刑事が食らわす一撃
サプライズ
ドラゴンゲート一番てっぺんを取るまで諦めない巡り巡ってく戦い刑事の最高の時を永遠に宣言
開け夢の扉何度でも挑むんだ刑事タイムかませインパクト掴む栄光またドリームゲートチャンピオン負けてたまるか祭り男の意地と誇り
空へて刑事タイム今なるゴング茨の道を堪能中思い出す数々の戦い未だに勉強中昔から憧れたチャンピオンの座に上り詰めるまで
It's weird, we're so used to KZ having all these different versions of Time to Go Crazy over the years, and they're all, super high energy, very party time, let's go crazy, have some fun. And this is something that's a bit different. Not too different, it still has that reggae rap flavor to it that KZ likes to have, but it doesn't feel like, hey, I'm KZ, let's get the energy up, guys. It feels more emotional and introspective, and that's because it is. It's about KZ's longtime quest and struggle to get the Dreamgate title. So, it's not a typical rah-rah KZ entrance here. It's something that's a bit more personal and a bit more specific for this circumstance here. So, I think the tonal shift here makes a lot of sense then, Mike.
Yeah, and it's something that he is, like, Mr. Charisma. He is someone that, like, really inherited Akira Tozawa's role of being like the high energy guy, and that's how his themes kind of evolved over the years after that happened. And now he debuted a big match theme that, instead of sounding elegant like the piano intro for Yuki Yoshioka's new big match theme, this one is like a ballad in a way. It's like a KZ slow jam that he comes out to, and it was something that kind of took me aback the first time he came out to it, but it's very fitting that, like, now the person who is the perennial Dreamgate challenger now has a special theme that's like, oh yeah, no, it's a Dreamgate challenge of KZ in it, because he has his theme talking about how he's forever striving to become champion. So yeah, no, it's weird, but it fits after hearing it a couple times and him losing Dreamgate matches coming out to this music, frankly.
Right, I mean, just look at the lyrics, open the door of the dream, challenge as many times as you can, I remember a lot of battles, I'm still studying, I'll do it until I get the championship I've longed for, I won't give up, I'll fight. It's definitely the most serious KZ theme we've had, I think, relatively speaking, he's not going, boom shakalaka, and there's no background singers, KZ time, no, it's about his struggles and his fight to win that title. And he's, going to keep on trying no matter what. So, yeah, it's a real change of pace in that sense too, Mike, for sure.
And it's something that I feel like, and my memory might be wrong about this, but I feel like After the Festival was the first new big match theme in a long time too. So, like, the fact that, like, after years, because I feel like the last one, T-Hawk, I forget T-Hawk had one or not, but a lot of, they went big, long periods without big match themes, and then KZ has this one that is so dedicated to Dreamgate, when that kind of has become his big role in the company, is kind of being the I don't want to say Hiroki Goto, but it's like the easy comp there, but and that's what this theme is all about. It's just like, he's just going to always try to go it. He's going to challenge it over and over. He says, like, KZ time will never end, because KZ time is him going on this quest, and it kind of makes you wonder at this point, like, oh, KZ, like, what happens if KZ does win the Dreamgate? Do they change? Does he get a brand new big match theme? Because I don't know how you can come out as Dreamgate champion saying, like, the big, like, final line is, until I become a champion, KZ time will never end. You're champion, bud. You
did it, yeah.
I guess KZ time is over.
Yeah, I thought about that too. It's in my notes. But also, this is a case of a big match DG theme where it's a completely different song than the normal version, because big match versions are usually just a piano melody before it kicks into the main song. No, this is an entirely different composition altogether, which I think makes it even more special and unique, Mike.
And it's something that, like, I remember the first time he came out to this theme. I forget if it was at this one or at Kobe World, but there was the time that he came out with Natural Weapon and Tox Z, and they were performing his theme. And it was he had his umbrella and his I always forget what the jacket is called. It's not a kimono, but he had like his festive jacket on as well. And it's just like, oh yeah, no. Weirdly, his entrance fit the vibe for the moment. Like with him, like it was because he was kind of strolling down to the ring very contemplatively. And it's something that it just works for him in a way that, like, it's such an abrupt change because, yeah, everyone else's big match theme is like a 20-second piano stinger going straight into the theme music. I mean, that's literally what they added to Yuki Yoshioka's theme is just
yeah,
playing the chorus of his theme, but slow on a piano like Speedstar. So it's fascinating that they went to this abrupt of a change for KZ and for KZ specifically. I find that really interesting.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's cool that for this song he doesn't do the typical, KZ shtick where he's rapping to the crowd and jumping up and down and all that. He's walking contemplatively to the ring with the parasol and in the kimono and all that. So it's cool how he does that to really, sell the emotional weight of the match. That's nice. As opposed to like, The Miz when he comes out to wrestle the Fiend and, his son's been kidnapped or whatever, and he just comes out and does his usual spins and poses and whatnot. So I appreciate changing the entrance so much to, really match the emotion of the moment there, Mike.
And it just fits like the lyrics now. Like the more I'm like looking at the lyrics, it's just like, yeah, no, I like the fact that like Dragongate, a company where BB Hulk had a dark persona for a while. What is the different persona that like his neighbor has in KZ? Oh, he takes a stroll very contemplatively while people sing about his quests that he's had on that he'll never stop until he becomes champion. And just like different, they went hard left there, but it works.
For sure. Well, that's going to do it for this episode of Music of the Mat. Thank you so much for listening. And Mike, thank you again for being here. As always, a super fun time doing this with you. I think we might be running low on current Dragongate themes to talk about. I don't know, but regardless, I'm sure I'll have you on again in the future, and we'll dig into the archives. How about that?
Oh, absolutely. Thank you again, Andrew. This was an absolute blast as always. We might have to start talking about different versions of Deep Drunker's themes, but I'm prepared for that. I'm ready to do it. Let's do it, buddy.
Yes, one of these days. But any plugs you want to give? Go right ahead.
Yeah, so as Andrew mentioned, I co-host Open the Voice Gate on Voices of Wrestling with K-Slow. That is, every week we tackle the Dragon system. This last week, as of time of recording, we had a pretty wide-reaching conversation about Dragongate in 2022 and the changes that have gone on over the last 9 months. So if you were interested in when we were talking about like kind of palace intrigue, but really not in the greater scheme of things, check out especially that episode as well. I am the proprietor of Spearsovations, and what is Spearsovations? It's just my collective of wrestling projects in a way. It's this vein or lane for me to explore things that I find interesting in pro wrestling, and a part of Spearsovations is I do a newsletter, which is also about Naruki Doi this week, and a show every Wednesday. But if you're interested in that, go to spearsovations.ghost.io to check that out and subscribe, hopefully. But yeah, no, thanks again. And oh yeah, my Twitter is Fuji Heya. That's Fuji with 2 eyes like Don Fuji. But thank you again, Andrew. I had a blast as always.
Oh yeah, every time, man. Definitely. Always a blast. And Music of the Mat is, of course, part of the Voices of Wrestling podcast network. You can find all the great podcasts on there at voicesofwrestling.com. Follow the show on Twitter at Music of the Mat. Follow me on Twitter at Andrew T. Rich. voicesofwrestling.com/Discord for all discussions and comments. voicesofwrestling.com/donate. For any donations, just click the big donate button beneath the name Music of the Mat. If you donate, hey, thanks so much. You're awesome. Rate, review, subscribe to the show on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, and many other places. And of course, one more time, HelloFresh.com/VOW65 and use the code VOW65 for 65% off plus free shipping. Mike, thank you again, and I'll see you around.
Absolutely. Thank you, Andrew.
All right, for Mike Spears, I'm Andrew Rich, and I'll see you next time on Music of the Mat. Take care, guys.
Music of the Mat is intended for entertainment and information purposes only. The songs used throughout this show are property of their respective copyright holders.
Wendy's new French toast sticks are so delicious, some are saying that they're better than their mom's breakfast.
Excuse me. Did you just say Wendy's new French toast sticks are better than my breakfast?
Mom, is that you?
Answer the question.
I said some people are saying that because they're so crispy on the outside and fluffy on the inside and perfect in every way.
Uh-huh. And what do you think?
I think it's time to tell people to choose wisely. Choose Wendy's new sweet and crispy home-style French toast sticks.
That's still not an answer.
At participating U.S. Wendy's during breakfast hours.